Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by. One more day of life here on this earth. I'm looking out my window and it's a sunny day where I am, and I have a big, beautiful, bushy bush. It's a cross kind of between a bush and a tree. And if we really look at nature, Bruno Grunning said, if we look at nature, if we look at our body, we can begin to understand the glory of God. I don't remember the exact quote, but Bruno Grunning said, God reveals his glory, his majesty in nature and in our bodies. So I'm just looking at this bush tree right now, and who knows, there's 1,000 leaves on it. And of course, there's hundreds of branches and there's roots that go into the earth, and this beautiful tree bush, lives on sunlight and water and the healing stream. And drinks in this energy and then sends it forth. I'm noticing I'm a little embarrassed. I occasionally give talks on the teachings of Ramana Maharshi, an Indian teacher. I consider Bruno my main teacher, and I left up the picture of Ramana, and here we are having a Bruno Grunning gathering. So it's interesting that I did that, because it's through just one sentence that Ramana Maharshi said, actually 2 sentences, that I really felt like I began to understand the teachings of Bruno Grunning. And seeing as how I accidentally left that up, I think I'll read a few of those sentences. Ramana said, God never forsakes the one who has surrendered. Surrender, meaning surrender to God, because you admit your inability and also require a higher power to help you. So this, to me, is the essence of what Bruno Grunning taught: reliance on God through recognition of our need for God. Now, this isn't easy for me, or probably for any of us as human beings. As I've said, I'm an American man, and here in America, there's this idea of, for all people, of being independent, and of course, maybe even more so for men, of being independent and not needing anyone or anything. And in human terms, there might be, from a spiritual perspective, there might be some wisdom from that, of not looking to other people, places, and things, but only looking to God. But that's part of my habit that I'm breaking here on this spiritual path, is thinking, I don't need anyone or anything. I can do it all by myself. Now, if I just made a slight correction to that and said something like, I don't need anything in terms of people, places, but I do need one thing, and that is God. Again, here's what Ramana Maharshi said on the topic of surrender. He said, surrender because you admit your inability and also require higher power to help you. So let's reflect on this for a little bit. Do we need a higher power to help us? Bruno Grunning said, absolutely yes. And What's important is not what Bruno said, not what Ramana said, who's considered one of the great Indian saints, wise people of the 19th and 20th century. What matters is that we draw our own conclusions. Are we able to live life on our own without God? If so, we don't necessarily need the teachings of Bruno Gurney or Ramana Maharshi or any spiritual teaching per se. But if we come to the conclusion, I need God, then we begin this process of seeking God as if we were seeking air with that level of desperation, devotion, need, longing. So let's spend a little time in silence, observing the body, having the will, the intention to take in good energy. Noticing what you feel. Taking in the good. Observing the body. So here's the other thing that Ramana Maharshi said that really helped me understand Bruno Gurney's teachings. It's very interesting to me. I studied this person's work, Ramana's work, for a very long time and just never really clicked for me. But I was very passionate about it and very drawn to it. And then I found these couple of sentences that really sort of kind of changed my whole life and really opened me up to Bruno Gurney's teaching. Here's the other here's the other quote that Ramana said. Surrender is feeling I am helpless by myself. God alone is all powerful, and except by throwing myself completely on Him, there is no other means of safety for me. Again, surrender is feeling I am helpless by myself. God alone is all powerful. And except by throwing myself completely on Him, there is no other means of safety for me. Now, that's a very interesting attitude to take, of that I just absolutely, positively need God. And in terms of safety, Bruno Gurney spoke that what we're up against is this. He didn't mince words. We're up against evil. We're literally up against the devil. And it's not something, it's not a foe that we can defeat on our own. We literally need divine help. In fact, all this, the taking in of evil starts with distancing ourselves from God. It's like um, we distance ourselves from God in some way, shape, or form, and then that invites evil in, which of course pushes us further away from God, which invites more evil in. And then the only way to break this very vicious cycle is through accepting divine help. Bruno Groening said, if you adopt the attitude, I want to be healthy, then ask God for help, because man on his own is too weak. And speaking of God as the supreme physician, Bruno Groening said, only he can help. Now, on a human, we need to recognize he means on a spiritual level. If I have a flat tire, I can receive help from many people to change my tire, although I know how to change a tire, but it's nice to have help. But there are certainly all sorts of simple human tasks where we can receive help from people. But in terms of getting at the root of all of our problems, for that we need divine help. And here's what Greta Hausler said on this topic. She's someone who knew Bruno Groening quite well. This is from Insights and Wisdom, page 28. Bruno Groening recognized who wants to take away these wonderful things from human beings and has the power to do so. He uncovered who the liar is. I don't know if the translation is correct here. Who the liar from the beginning is. He uncovered where all that is not good comes from on this earth, where illness and troubles in any shape or form is sent from, where plagues, pains, suffering, and death have their source. He said it openly. All evil comes from the evil one. Everyone can convince himself of this. That is the way he is. Bruno Groening lifts the disguise. Bruno Groening says openly that every illness comes from evil, that every bit of unhappiness and every failure comes from evil, that everything that plagues us comes from God's adversary, who is very powerful. But Bruno Groening said one thing to us: God is almighty. I am stronger than evil. Since Bruno Groening is indeed stronger than evil, he fights the battle for us and our health comes back. So, if we don't accurately identify the problem, evil or Satan, then we're not going to be able to come up with an adequate solution. I think of it as, if we go around doing all these different things to try and heal our body, but don't recognize that evil is the root cause, then it's like trying to cut down a tree by cutting off leaves. We have to get at the root of the problem, and the root of the problem is evil, is Satan, the evil one, the devil, the liar from the beginning. Bruno did not mince words about this at all. And this is so important because, as I've said many times, I live in a very holistic, or what I used to think of, spiritual town that has all sorts of wonderful, natural, holistic, spiritual healing modalities. I'm going to say spiritual healing modalities. And I've gotten a lot out of them, and I've learned a lot, and none of them really address the root cause that Bruno Groening pointed out is evil. Now, Greta Hausler says, but Bruno Groening said one thing to us: God is almighty. I am stronger than evil. And while Bruno Groening did say that, it's not accurate that that's the only thing he said. Bruno Groening said, Satan is mighty. God is almighty. And then in other places he said, I am stronger, but I am stronger than evil. So it's this thing of recognizing the power of evil and the almighty power of God. And why is it important to recognize the power of evil? Well, If I don't recognize that I'm up against a very strong foe, I'm not going to turn to God. I'm going to do everything but turn to God. And then Greta Hausler continues, since Bruno Grinning is indeed stronger than evil, he fights the battle for us and our health comes back. Now, I respect that Greta Hausler was very close to Bruno Grinning, but I don't believe that's the full story. That's only really the partial story. Here's what Bruno Grinning said. I won't allow anyone to demand anything from me, but to attain it. He said, I will help whoever believes in God. And he also said, I know that you want to have help and healing. And so I say, don't claim anything, but attain it. So, yes, we can ask Bruno Grinning for help, and sometimes the illness just vanishes. But I don't think that's the way healing happens most of the time. Most of the time, it's through a combination of Bruno Grinning's help and our striving towards it. I've experienced it. I've just given something to Bruno. I've just asked Bruno for help, and it was gone. There's no question that Bruno is available to help that way. But the majority of the healings I have experienced are me asking Bruno for help and then doing a lot of Einstein, cultivating faith, watching my thoughts, and also asking, how do I need to change on the inside? What bad habit do I have that's contributing to this? So the idea that Bruno Grinning does it all for us, I don't believe that's accurate, or I don't believe that's what Bruno Grinning taught at all. Can that happen? Sometimes, yes. Someone just shows up at a meeting, an introduction, and an illness vanishes. They didn't really do anything. I know someone who went to the Bruno Grinning documentary. He fell asleep, and when he woke up, his knees were healed, like a 15-year injury from a motorcycle accident. And he fell asleep. So yes, sometimes Bruno Grinning does take things on for us. And it's my sense that that's the minority of how healings occur. It's generally a combination of Bruno Grinning's help and our own striving. As Bruno Grinning said, I know that you want to have help and healing, and so I say don't claim or demand or claim, demand. The German word has many meanings. Claim, demand, or require anything, but attain it, acquire it, receive it. I don't know if receive is accurate, but attain, acquire it. So let's reflect on all this a little bit. Observing the body, taking in the good, recognizing that we have our part in the spiritual path. Bruno Gurney did say, I am fighting for you. So he is fighting for us. He is helping us. And my understanding is we have to do our part. So let's do it now. Let's take in this good energy. Let's ask to be shown what lessons we need to learn. Taking in the good. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for saying hello. Mhm. Hmm. So it's this finding the middle ground between I am going to do everything on my own and Bruno Grunny does everything for me. Accepting Bruno's help, asking for it, often handing over our burdens. And, back when Bruno Grunny was in his body, um, he said that people treated him like a trash can, that they would just go to the community hours, like hand over their burdens, and then not do anything on their own. And that's not really a spiritual path. Um, hmm. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining in, and I'll close with how I began. For anyone who came in late, I accidentally left my picture of Ramana Maharshi up. He's an Indian spiritual teacher who I have a lot of respect for, and in some ways, he helped me to, I believe, fully understand Bruno Gruning's teachings. And I, so I'm going to close with two quotes of him about our need for God. And it's these, in some ways, I feel like these specific words he shared are kind of the foundation of my life, and certainly are what helped me to really understand Bruno Gruning's teachings. Surrender, meaning to God, because you admit your inability and also require higher power to help you. That's one. We need to recognize we're up against the evil as a foe we cannot defeat on our own. And here's the other. Surrender is feeling I am helpless by myself. God alone is all powerful, and except by throwing myself completely on Him, there is no other means of safety for me. So I sometimes think to summarize the teachings of Bruno Gruning like this: we need God. So let's close with a few minutes of tuning in, really taking in this good energy, asking for ourselves freedom from all evil, recognizing our need for a higher power, recognizing our inability by ourselves, on our own, to free ourselves from that which is not good. And then asking God, asking our spiritual helper for help. Asking for harmony in our household, harmony in our cities, in our countries. On this beautiful planet, please, the highest blessing from Mother Earth. Let's ask to be conduits of this energy, to be guided throughout our day, to go where we're needed, to do what God wants us to do. And let's just ask now that this energy that we're taking in, that it go wherever it's needed on this beautiful planet. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Take care. Much love.